G'day everyone and welcome to Andrew's Art and Models. Today we have a kit review for you on the episode 1 AMT Trade Federation tank from Star Wars in 1/32 scale. Let's have a look at this beast. It is a big model and the box art is relatively simple, not too bad. This came out some time ago, a couple of decades ago in fact, and has been out of production for a long time, but you can still find plenty of these around. Sometimes they are asking ridiculous prices for them, but occasionally you will find them at a reasonable price, so keep an eye out. Now, moving on. All the parts that come with this kit are bagged, which is good because these parts, I've opened a few of these now, and these parts are always loose. So these go on the side of the tank. They're like a handhold, and they are always loose in the bags. I have never seen them not loose in the bag. So if they weren't bagged, you would lose them. Construction is fairly simple, so you can see we've got the turret here, we've got the hull, and all the handles and everything that go on the side of it. It is fairly basic to put together. A couple of lasers, and that's pretty much said and done. Right, so the lower part of the hull puts on, and there you go. Painting instructions, fairly basic, straightforward painting instructions. It's not an overly complex model. Certainly not an overly complex model to paint, but given a nice paint job, it looks stunning. So that is the Trade Federation tank. Let's get on to having a look at the parts. So let's put this aside for a second. Alrighty, so here we've got both parts of the main hull, and look at the size of that thing. It is huge. It goes together reasonably well, and there are no sink marks or flash points or anything like bits of flash, anything like that. They really need to clean up. It is very nicely done, which makes a nice change for a lot of these kits. Some of them can be a bit scrappy, especially the older ones, but this one is reasonably well made. Same can be said for the other parts. So this part's for the lower hull. We'll grab the other part. So it goes like that. Essentially, they'll meet in the middle. Nicely molded. Nice little rivet detail on there, which just breaks it up, makes it look a bit more interesting. And the same with the rest of the top. So the main section goes on here. And once again, mostly molded fairly well. There are some issues on this part. And they're right at the nose. So you can see just in the light there, where the two connector pins on the underside go, there is some sink marks on the front of the hull here that need to be fixed. But other than that, it is pretty good, and they're only minor. It's not going to be a huge headache to correct them. And underside is pretty neat as well. The only complaint I have about some of these parts is just the thickness of the gates, the sprue gates. They're just huge and horrible. Just be careful taking those off, that you don't damage the rest of the model. So just be very, very delicate with them. But overall, pretty good. Pretty good. Some of the parts are a little bit basic, and you could do some extra detailing on them if you wanted. But overall, when it's said and done, it is not too bad. And we'll just get the last itty bitty pieces out. So that's the rear of the vehicle. Not too bad. No sink marks, very little flash. That goes on the top of the section, and I'll show you that in a minute. And then we have our little stand, the Trade Federation stand, to take it, leave it, whatever you want to do with it, and all the little grab handles and other little parts and bits and pieces we're saying. So, as we were saying earlier, parts that have come off there. That is precisely why we want bags. But yeah, very, very simple, easy put together. What do you need to look out for? Right, when you're making this kit, there are a few fit issues. So overall, it's not horrendous, but there are a few fit issues, and we'll point them out to you now. The main one you're going to get is, just playing around with all these little bits of plastic. So the main one you're going to get is with the two parts of the hull. The join here, they go together reasonably well, and the join here is mostly hidden. So you've got the turret on the back there, and you're going to have this section sitting over that hole there. So it covers up a lot of the joint seams, but along the nose section here, you're going to have a horrible, horrible join. And I can't quite put it together because it hasn't been taken off the sprues and set up and everything, but you get the idea. That requires a lot of attention to make it look nice. So definitely keep an eye on that. With this section complete and the turret complete and everything like that, I then, when I was first built it, had trouble getting it to fit to the lower hull. So this was a real pain in the backside. These will slot in reasonably well, but it just does not pull down snug to the model. So there ends up being a gap between here where you join it. So we'll try and get that in there. Yeah, not going to work. I'll have to trim that a bit. But here when you join it, that little gap there, this will fit in, but you'll still see a seam popping up from around the base. So what do? Well, you could spend a fair bit of time puttying it and trying to get it into the little nooks and crannies and fix it that way. I don't recommend that. One thing that I found that worked really well was I put a hole in the bottom of the base. I then got a piece of string and tied a knot. So the knot was on the underside here and the string came through there. I then ran it through the top of the body. So ran it through the middle of the fuselage, and so it would come out underneath this part here. So it goes from under here, through here, up through there. I glued these areas in place and then literally held the model, pushed down on the top and pulled the string up. And that gave me the tension that I needed to keep these two parts connected. So this part, as you can see, it's a big single piece of plastic. There's no real support behind it. And when you go to push something down on it, it just sinks in. So you can see that there I'm doing with my thumb, it just dips in. So it doesn't want to connect to the part being pushed onto the top. And that's the best way I found to avoid that problem. So you'll save yourself a lot of time, a lot of puttying, a lot of mucking around, just taking that step and using that little cheat, which I found on the last one I built. So it worked really well. Turret, once again, fits together reasonably well. You are going to have seam issues around these little points though, so there's not much you can do about that. You're just going to have to sand it, and the same is said for the gun. The fit on this is really quite average, and you're going to need to attend to these parts as well. So just bear that in mind as you go forward with the build. And as I was saying, I suggest leaving this part off until you've done the lower hull and the topper hull, and you can pull that string through to tension the plastic below to get the join you're after. Now, all that said, would I buy this model if I was you? Yeah, probably. It is actually quite a good tank, and I remember being really surprised when it came out because it's 1/32 scale. It was really quite big compared to a lot of the kits that they were releasing then. And when they announced they were going to do a Trade Federation tank, I was thinking, oh yeah, maybe like 1/72 or something like that, just a 1/48, maybe smaller scale. But to come out with this big thing was really quite surprising, and it looks great once it's painted up and put on the shelf. It looks great. You can choose that camo if you want, or you can do a different paint scheme on it. It's totally up to you, really. But I've painted it in that color. It's a hard color to work with. I always find yellow is a bit harder to work with, but give it a try. It can come up a treat if you get it right. And yeah, well worth a purchase if you find it at the right price. Well, that's enough for me chatting today. I thank you for watching, and hopefully there's some tips in here and a few bits and pieces that you've learnt. Oh, one thing I quickly left out was the aerials. There's 2 metal aerials in the kit, which was a really nice touch as opposed to having them molded in plastic. So that was great. Yes, sorry, I forgot to show you those. Please subscribe, like, share, tell a friend, whatever. And if you have any questions, by all means, shoot them to me. Happy to answer any questions that I get if I can, and we'll go from there. Now, don't forget, we do the monthly model giveaways, and we've got them coming up every month. So to enter those, just watch the model giveaway videos, and it'll tell you how to enter them and what models are available for that month. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.